Yes! Hello, my beautiful friends. What an amazing day it is, and welcome back. Happy Wednesday. I hope your week is unfolding oh so beautifully well. We have a lot to get to today, and some very good news. An acquittal for the meme master of 2016. You know who he is, and I'm going to share with you right now, Government Exhibit 720. And so this used to be an illegal meme. And so this is a content warning. If there's any young ones out there, cover their eyes because a man almost went to prison for this. And we're going to go through it. You remember this one. It is here. Avoid the line. Vote from home. Text Hillary to this number. Well, that was posted by this guy, Douglas Mackey. And under Joe Biden, if you remember, they came out back in 2023. And they launched this full prosecution against this dude. Social media influencer Douglas sentenced for election interference for posting the illegal memes. Oh, golly. You remember that. Anyway, so he appealed it. He got sentenced to 7 months in prison. He immediately appealed it. So I don't know if he spent much time in custody. I'm sure he spent some time in custody, but he did appeal it. Hopefully he was out pending appeal. But the appeal came back down, and it is a beauty. In fact, what you'll see here, we're going to go through this in detail and just enjoy every bit of it, because the judge and the prosecutors should all be ashamed of themselves for violating this man's rights and everybody else's rights who were in the similarly situated positions, being incarcerated and prosecuted by the Joe Biden insane FBI and DOJ. So we'll go through this. It's 41 pages, but what you'll see here is this has been ordered to go back down to the trial court and enter a judgment of acquittal. And the reasoning is because their case is crap, and it's a lot of fun. So we'll go through that in detail. Then, coming up next, we'll talk about Pam Bondi, everybody's favorite and most trustworthy attorney general. Who's trying hard, I think, probably. She is now out, and she's got a new effort. She's going to protect some other girls, the ones who are playing on field sports and in locker rooms. So they're suing California. And we got the announcement over here and the lawsuit saying California has been very obstinate and ornery. They're not going to comply with Title IX, which says you can't actually have boys in girls' sports. Not complicated. Unless you're from California, then they complicate things. And they got sued, and so we'll go through that. We'll see what Pam Bondi has to say and more. Then we'll talk about Joe Biden and how terrible he was. Remember him? Well, turns out that his doctor got an order to come into Congress today for a deposition. Showed up in Congress today, and then pleaded the fifth, baby. And so we'll go through this. We'll see why he would be concealing the truth. Why won't the doctor just answer questions? If the doctor didn't do anything wrong and Joe Biden was competent, well, why wouldn't he just talk? Well, because we know there's criminality there. So we got Andy Biggs is dunking on it. We've also got the White House, before he was scheduled to come in today, officially waived his privilege, right? So it's like, all right, you don't get to invoke that executive privilege stuff. We saw a lot of that come down when Biden was waiving privilege for the Trump inquisitions. And so what's good for the goose is good for the gander, as they say. So we got some of that. We got James Comer. He was out last night. We'll get the latest on what he's thinking about this and more. And then, of course, we'll see what you have to say about all of this and more. But I hope your week is unfolding beautifully well, and you're as excited as I am to get to this. Now, before we jump into it, let's talk about being healthy, because let's face it, aging hits all of us. And whether it's stiff joints or poor sleep or brain fog or something like that creeping up into your life, we've got this new solution, Fatty 15. That's where this solution comes in, because what's happening is happening at the cellular level. Now, Fatty 15 is powered by C15-0. It's the first essential fatty acid discovered in over 90 years, originally found due to co-founder Dr. Stephanie Venn Watson. She was working in the Navy studying dolphins and then extracted that for humans as well. Over 100 studies show that C15 supports stronger, more resilient cells, slows biological aging. As many as 1 in 3 people worldwide have low C15 levels and cellular fragility syndrome. And so it's not just about looking younger, it's about deeper sleep, sharper thinking, healthier aging. It's vegan, it's pure, it's got 3 times the cellular benefits of omega-3s, and Fatty 15 is on a mission to optimize your C15 levels to help you and support your long-term health and wellness, especially as we all age together. So you can get an additional 15% off of their 90-day subscription starter kit. Just go to fatty15.com/Robert. Use code Robert at checkout and get some of this breakthrough in healthy aging, of course, backed by science. Links are in the description below. And get your Fatty 15. And we appreciate Fatty 15 for sponsoring today's show. Now, let's get to business on the day. And here is where we're starting. Memes are back. This was once illegal. And you remember when this was posted back around 2016, in the days before the election, by this account called Publius Gaius. And turns out that person, which was at the Ricky Vaughn, we talked about some of these prosecutions and this particular prosecution back in 2023 when the DOJ was prosecuting it. But Publius Gaius turned out to be this guy, Douglas Mackey, who is now celebrating because his appeal has been successful, and the Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit came back down and said the lower level judge and the lower level prosecutors were so terrible that you must accept this appeal and enter a judgment of acquittal. Total exoneration, not guilty, reverse it. So we call that a win, total win through and through, and it's a nice one. Now, here was the meme, in case you missed it. Back in 2016, remember, there was a bunch of meme magic all over the interwebs back then. We had the Centipede songs. We had all sorts of amazing things. And what happened was, this was a meme that was spreading around 4chan. And so Publius, a.k.a. Douglas, posted this. It says, hey, avoid the line. Be like this smart woman. Just vote from home. Text Hillary to 59925. Vote for Hillary and be a part of history. Right? And these were memes. And by the way, this got spread around by the left as well. There were other Democrats. We covered this case. We pulled up other lefty comedians who were saying the same thing, literally. We compared and contrasted. Some of them were doing, it was a joke. It was a meme. And this turned into criminal prosecution by Joe Biden. And they were thrilled with themselves. They loved it, man. They lapped it up. And that was their DOJ and their FBI. So no matter what you want to say about Pam Bondi and what's going on right now, of course, we all have our criticisms. You've heard mine. We aren't prosecuting people for illegal memes. Maybe we should be. We'll see what happens. Now, here is what he said. Ladies and gentlemen, don't forget Government Exhibit 720. And the judges who convicted this man are getting reamed, and the prosecutors should too. These people should be embarrassed with themselves. But remember, they posted this back in 2023. This just got shoved back in their faces. They said, Douglas Mackey today, the DOJ wrote, was sentenced today by this judge called Ann Donnelly to 7 months in prison for his role in a conspiracy. Okay, so this is the charge now, because he was conspiring with others to interfere with potential voters' rights. His name was under the title Ricky Vaughn, and he was charged with conspiracy against rights as well. Well, you got to meet the elements of conspiracy if you're going to convict somebody of those things. So Breon Peace, pathetic, acting assistant attorney general Nicole Argentieri, and James Smith from the FBI all announced the sentence. These three morons got together. They're like, we are going to put an end to illegal memes like this one that are jokes. And you might even say, I see some people saying, I don't even get it. What is it? Well, the idea is that if you just text Hillary to this number and you think that is your vote, then you don't actually go to the polls and you don't vote. So it's like deviating you away from the actual voting. It's disinformation, and people are too stupid, maybe the Democrats are, to figure out it's a joke. So they got this together. They spent a ton of time, brought everybody together. They said, as proven at trial, and can we also shout out Douglas for taking this case to trial? They said Mackey had established an audience on X, Twitter at the time, of 58,000 followers. And they did an MIT Media Lab analysis. And he said he was one of the most significant influencers in the upcoming presidential election. Wow. And Mackey conspired with other influential Twitter users and members of online private groups, which they're going to talk about in this opinion, including Twitter, to disseminate fraudulent messages. The judges are going to say, there's no evidence of that. For example, on November 1st, in around the same time Mackey was suggesting this, he tweeted an image of an African-American woman that we just saw. The ad stated, avoid the line, just vote from home. You can't obviously do that. The fine print said, must be 18 years or older to vote. 1 vote per person. Must be legal citizen in the United States. Voting by text not available in Guam, Puerto Rico, Alaska, or Hawaii. Paid for by Hillary Clinton for president, 2016. Now, the tweet included the typed hashtag / I'm with her. Remember that? A slogan that was frequently used by her. So these FBI agents are like, wow, great. I wonder who wrote this report. Probably had to proofread it like 3 times. Several hours after tweeting the first image, Mackey tweeted an image depicting another woman seated in a conference room typing on her message on her cell phone. There was another message written in Spanish. It said, I'm with her. Con ella. This case was investigated by the FBI, and they arrested this dude. They charged him. They put him through the ringer, and he has been fighting this since that time. And rightfully so. And we were screaming about free speech and jokes and all the evidence. But the Court of Appeals came back down and issued their ruling. And so here's what they wrote. Out of the Second Circuit of the United States, in the case of the illegal memer, who's now been acquitted completely, against all Biden weaponized prosecutions that were just meant to silence people that they don't like. And they were very mad at MAGA for beating Hillary. They never thought that was going to happen ever. And when that did happen, they wanted to go on a little bit of a vengeance tour. And so you had weird people in the DOJ and the FBI who spent their entire lives tracking down memers. Pathetic. Here's what the Court of Appeals says. All right, Douglas Mackey, meme hero extraordinaire. From a judgment of conviction, he appeals. After a jury trial took place in the Eastern District of New York. Now, he was convicted of conspiring to injure citizens in the exercise of their right to vote in violation of U.S. code based on 3 illegal memes that he posted or reposted on X, Twitter, shortly before the 2016 election. Now, these memes falsely suggested that supporters of Hillary could vote by text. On appeal, Mackey says, the evidence that they actually presented against me to prove that he agreed to join the conspiracy is insufficient. They failed to prove it. The Court of Appeals says we agree. And so accordingly, we reverse. We send this back down to you, and we order the district court to enter a judgment of acquittal. Dang. Total vindication, total exoneration. You're acquitted. Get out. Here's what the judge wrote, Deborah Ann Livingston. She said on November 1st and 2nd, 2016, just days away from the election where Hillary was going to win like 92%, remember everybody was saying, Douglas Mackey reposted 3 memes on Twitter, falsely saying that supporters of Hillary could vote by text. Now, based on these posts, a jury in the United States convicted him. They said, you're guilty. You conspired to injure citizens. And Mackey says, you don't actually have any evidence that I was in a conspiracy at all. I was just posting memes. You charged me with conspiracy, but there is not that happening here. Now, the law says, right, under conspiracy, if you're going to charge, thank you, court, for doing this, Section 241 explicitly says, it's a crime for 2 or more persons. That's a conspiracy. That's when you see the word like conspiracy used in the Jeffrey Epstein case, you start to imply, 2 or more. So it's not just him. And it's just Ghislaine and Epstein. Then, all right, we got it. Now, to conspire to injure, to oppress, threaten, or intimidate any person, right, it's 2 or more. Now, they're going to also define a meme for us. All right. Some people like to call it memes or memes. Pretty sure they're called memes. but I'm not positive about that, so call it what you want. The parties and the district court referred to the images that Mackey shared as memes, and thus we're going to use the term as well. It's like probably a bunch of judges who are probably not on the internet and probably not familiar with memes at all. Now talking about a meme case, pretty funny. Now, a meme, they're going to define it for us, is an amusing or interesting item, such as a caption, picture, or video, or genre of items that is spread widely online, especially through social media. The social media platform used by Mackey, formerly known as X, Twitter, we're going to use Twitter because that's what it was called at the time. All right. So Mackey, he says, well, the evidence was insufficient and the Court of Appeals agrees. And Mackey makes another argument. They're not going to worry about it here because he wins on the first one. Now, they say, the parties, both sides, the Biden prosecutors and the defense, Mackey, they don't dispute. They say, yep, Mackey posted the memes. He did. It's on his account. I did it. No problem. And his doing so, though, was done independently. He's allowed to post it. That's why they didn't charge him individually. They charged him with conspiracy, because if he's posting it individually, they're going to make a bunch of free speech arguments, and now he's a conspiracy now. Well, who are the other co-conspirators? But he says, I just posted the memes. There was no 2 or more people involved in this at all. Section 241 requires 2 or more. And so as a result, the mere fact that Mackey posted the memes, even assuming he did so with specific intent to injure other citizens, it's not enough. Like, if you're going to charge him with 241, you got to have 2 or more to show there's that conspiracy there, even if he did intend to do what you say. So the government was obligated to show that Mackey knowingly entered into an agreement with other people to actually pursue that objective. So where's the evidence of this conspiracy? Now, the government fails to do this, Biden's prosecutors, but they gave themselves a pretty big fat pat on the back over here. All these people, Breon Peace and Nicole Argentieri of the Criminal Division, all patting themselves on the back. Now, you didn't do your job. Now, its primary evidence of agreement, apart from the memes themselves, consisted of exchanges among the participants in several private Twitter message groups. They got into the group chats. Exchanges, the government argued, showed the intent of the participants in the chat to interfere with other people's rights to vote. But the government failed to offer sufficient evidence that Mackey even viewed the group messages, let alone even participated in any of the exchanges that took place in their group chats. It's like the Proud Boys case, remember? They just went through their Telegram messages, dragged out the worst messages, assembled them together in a little dossier, and said, look what they're doing. And everybody saw every message, and there's some sort of cobbled together conspiracy of seditious conspirators, and they charged people who weren't even there. Same thing. He wasn't even in the groups. And in the absence of such, and the prosecutors and the FBI and the judges and the jurors all just sat there and they're like, well, I don't know, looks like a conspiracy to us. And in the absence of such evidence, the government's remaining circumstantial evidence cannot alone establish his knowing agreement to be involved in this conspiracy. And so accordingly, your verdict and the resulting judgment of conviction must be set aside. Here's the background. Now, you know Twitter. It was a dumpster before Elon took it over. Now it's arguably a dumpster too, depending on your interpretation of, Grok and recent CEO changes. There's a lot going on. There's a lot. Last night was a pretty wild scene. But here's the factual background. Now, Twitter is a social media platform, and people post a bunch of stuff on there. Users can send messages and more. And there are even groups. Now, in 2014, the conspiracy starts as follows. It says he was 24 years old at the time. He was posting on Twitter under the pseudonym Ricky Vaughn, the name of Charlie Sheen's character in a 1989 movie called Major League. He selected his account profile picture as avatar as Charlie Sheen's Vaughn character wearing a MAGA cap, and it was in his tweets. Now, in the lead up to the election, he became influential on Twitter for posting spicy memes, which were, amazing. In 2015 and 16, he tweeted or retweeted hundreds of times per day and had amassed 51,000 followers. He described himself as a troll, a dumpster poster, a dumpster lord, which to him meant someone who posts a lot of stuff to distract or get the conversation going. Mackey's tweets often consisted of memes, either supporting Trump or opposing Hillary. Some of the content he posted was false or misleading, or it was derogatory towards women, or against racial minorities or immigrants. I know, that's the spice. Now, the government acknowledged at trial that although such content may have been outrageous, silly, or somewhere in between, it was not illegal. Almost all of it was not illegal. They admitted that at trial. What? The content, almost all of it was not illegal, they said. All right. Now, at various times throughout the 2016 election, Mackey was a member of several direct message groups, 3 of which are particularly relevant here. Several of these, one of them is called the War Room, another one called Microchat, another one called Madman number 2. In these groups, members shared pro-Trump, anti-Clinton messages and memes, discussed strategies to make their posts go viral. Mackey at times actively participated in these groups, but his engagement declined as the election approached. He did not post any messages in the War Room in the 2 weeks before he tweeted the text to vote memes, and he was not even a member of the Microchat or Madman number 2 from October 5 through the election. So they go into these other groups, like these are prosecutors who are supposed to not do this, and they go and they find other things that are totally irrelevant to this guy, not even involved. Like most of Mackey's tweets, the exchanges in these groups generally fell within the scope of lawful, albeit sometimes outrageous or silly political speech. However, the government argued that the group's operation turned criminal when they trained their sites on not on a particular issue or candidate. Like if you want to dunk on Hillary, that's fine. But if you're going to talk about the mechanics of voting, that's the line. Now there's a conspiracy. So the first messages potentially indicative of such a transition were sent on September 26 when a member of Madman number 2 linked to a fake ad suggesting it was possible to vote over social media in the UK. Asking, can we make something like this for Hillary? Right? People are like, oh, so it looks like the English started this? Another user replied 5 minutes later, typical that all dopey minorities fell for it. Now, at this point, Mackey was a member of Madman 2, but he denied having even seen those messages. And the idea was not mentioned again for almost 3 weeks. Now, it next came up, as was discussed in more depth, on October 16th and 17th in 2017, after Mackey had left the group. Now, that's 17, that's after the election. A member of Madman 2 shared several memes, right? After several memes sharing and suggesting that citizens could vote by posting Clinton Kane with the hashtag presidential election on their Facebook accounts, and other members posted refinements to the memes as well. Now, Madman members too also distributed and discussed similar memes on October 20th, 29th, and all the way up to November 2016. So I think that's a typo, right? Probably a typo. But Mackey was not a member of Madman number 2 this time, and no evidence was adduced suggesting that he could have viewed any of these messages. Now, similar posts also appear in the other chat groups. Microchat, War Room, they had similar messages, but Mackey Douglas was not a member of the Microchat, but he was in the War Room. Now, the record contains 2 sets of War Room posts that are related to this conspiracy, which, as we saw, requires 2 or more people. 2 memes posted on October 29th, both at about 8:22, falsely suggesting you can vote by tweet, is what they submitted. These are War Room posts, in addition to his posts. Prosecutors also dumped in 10 related messages or memes that were posted from October 30th from these periods as well. Now, the October 30th postings focused on strategies for explaining that voting by tweet was available only for Clinton supporters, right? So don't let Trump voters think that you can just vote by texting this number. One War Room member who testified anonymously at trial under the pseudonym Microchip shared screenshots of tweets in which he indicated that the tweet to vote option was only set up for Hillary. And another one said, make it more believable by acting like it's unfair. He's like, this is ridiculous. They can vote, right? Like you can post it like, I can't believe Hillary can vote by mail. This is so ridiculous. Microchip responded that he was plotting and that they wanted to have something soon. So they bring in this other dude. Does he testify that he was doing any of that with Douglas Mackey? Doesn't sound like it. Now, as discussed, except for that single day in September, when there was a grand total of 2 potentially relevant posts in Madman number 2, Mackey was not a member of that group or Microchat during the period in which members were talking about these memes. He wasn't even in there. Nor is there any evidence that Mackey participated in any exchanges in the War Room. Like he's not chatting with anybody about any of this. The crux of the government's case at trial was thus 2 tweets and a retweet sent by Mackey after these exchanges had already taken place. That's the evidence. For this conspiracy, the law requires 2 or more people. Now, as to the tweets on November 1, Mackey tweeted the following meme. This was illegal. Almost went to prison for this. Suggesting that Clinton supporters could vote by texting Hillary. We saw the meme. Shortly thereafter, he posted a second meme with similar directions in Spanish. Ahora tiempo. Ahora, I don't know if you pronounce the H. Evita las colas. Vote for Hillary. And we don't know if they did or not. Now, Mackey's tweets both were there, bearing his signature, included "I'm with her, go Hillary," and that none of his messages appear among the 12 messages that were distributed in the war room. Okay, so he didn't get these memes from them, and he didn't send these memes to them. Notably, Mackey also omitted any indication that the text to vote option was available only for Clinton. Like they said, just make sure it's only for Hillary, right? And they recommended that that is on the memes, and he didn't do that. Now, he also then retweeted this one. Somebody else posted this one, right? The Ricky Vaughn, thanks for spreading the word. He reposted that and said here, so somebody else created this meme. Must be a legal citizen, not available, paid for by Hillary Clinton. And they said, look, he's reposting that. So that's a third publication. The original tweet came from another account called NIA for Trump. And it mentioned his handle, so he got a notification and said thanks. Now, the government said at trial that Mackey's 2 tweets and his retweet, so maybe that retweet is the conspiracy because that's the second person, evidenced his knowing participation in a war room conspiracy. Now, Twitter came in and said that because there was a space between the go and Hillary in the second tweet, the hashtag would just be go. All right, so somebody screwed that up somewhere. All right, so they say, but as to the tweets, Douglas Mackey testified at trial, and the government did not contest that he downloaded the first 2 memes from 4chan, not from War Room, which is a public messaging board. It's a lot of gentlemen and scholars over there. Similarly, with respect to Mackey's retweet, it is undisputed that because NIA for Trump mentioned Mackey's Twitter handle, Mackey automatically got notification of that. Now, the government said, so he got notification and he retweeted it. This is 2 members of the war room working together to try to trick people out of voting, said one of these loser prosecutors who was like probably going home and just celebrating with the rest of her prosecutor loser friends and enjoying themselves after their big day in court. Now, significantly, however, the government has since clarified that this person was not even a member of War Room. And he would join the War Room in the days ahead. So he wasn't even in there. So how is he the second person? So the government's position at trial, because they had to just make it up, was that Mackey both visited 4chan to download his memes and retweeted the meme only after viewing the War Room post. So he's like, took it from them and got the idea from War Room. And all of this was for the purpose of furthering his unlawful agreement with them in this giant online conspiracy. Now, Mackey took the stand. Shout out to this dude. Fought tooth and nail to the end. Testified to the contrary. He says, I never even viewed the War Room posts. Do you have any evidence I did? No. And that I never even saw the memes, which the government stipulated were circulating online. He said, I saw those for the first time on 4chan. They were on the internet, right? Yeah. Okay, so they were on 4chan? Yeah. So I saw them on 4chan. Now, to be sure, the jury was entitled to disbelieve Mackey's testimony. And by the way, this is kind of how 4chan operates. If you're not familiar with it, there are boards that basically are refreshing constantly. I think still is that way. I don't know, but haven't been there in a while. But it's refreshing constantly. And so you just kind of like will snag something from it and then share that on the internet before it dissipates, right? Before it's gone. So you just kind of capture it. Oh, that's hilarious. You know, somebody will screen grab that, put it on Reddit, put it on Twitter, put it on X, put it on Facebook, put it wherever. So he's doing the same thing. But the government did not contend at trial that Mackey ever communicated with members of the War Room offline, or that he participated in any online discussions with them outside the War Room at all. And the government effectively conceded at oral argument that it had offered no direct evidence, they said. Nothing. The government even admitted it at trial. that was aware of a dozen war room postings he had no idea that the government tried to tie him to in this agreement. They had to admit it. We don't have direct evidence. There's no direct proof, but we're asking you to use circumstantial evidence. Like, you didn't see the snow fall on the ground, okay, but you woke up the next morning and there's snow on the ground, so you can presume that it snowed. Even though you don't have direct evidence of watching it snow, you can presume that it snowed last night, right? That's circumstantial evidence. And they say, well, we don't have direct evidence of this, but you can just presume that there's a conspiracy here without any evidence of the conspiracy. Now, the government did argue before the jury, they said, relying on other commentary posted by Mackey, that he had a technique or he had a pattern of viewing war room messages, not commenting, so he was just lurking in there, and then he would tweet related content. This was a silent agreement with war room members. Mackey said, what are you talking about? I put the war room on mute so that I don't receive notifications. Okay, they were talking like crazy, over 600 messages coming in per day. I can't read them all. If I'm in there, I'm reading content all day. If I read every message in the dozens of groups or chat rooms. So I never saw most of it. Now, Microchip stated that the war room was the most active group and they could be used to retweet content. Mackey estimated that he was posting about 300 retweets or tweets per day. Wild. That is some serious output. When he tweeted the text to vote memes, that is a lot, man. A lot of people, I don't know how you guys do that. How do you do that? Incredible. It pointed in particular to tweets related to draft our daughters and other things. Sought to discourage support for Hillary Clinton by calling attention. Remember, there were these memes too. Hillary, vote for Hillary so your daughters can register for the draft. Hillary wants equality for all women, including in war. And so you're starting like, wait, what? Democrats like, wait, what? Calling attention to her position that women should register for the draft. Maybe we should send them overseas to fight. Mackey used the phrase hashtag draft our daughters. Remember that? I remember it. Says 39 tweets. Yeah, draft our daughters, like all the Democrats, like white dudes for Harris or whatever that was. That draft our daughters, is like mocking them. The government acknowledged, however, that Mackey's tweets on this topic were lawful. They were political speech, right? It's satire. You can make fun of people. And that the engagement on those memes was allowed. You can say Hillary wants to send your daughters to go fight in Ukraine or in wherever she would have sent them. The government said that Mackey admitted to having viewed these messages related to draft our daughters, but the record is unclear on this point. And so we don't need to resolve the ambiguity. A rational juror could have concluded that Mackey admitted to viewing these in the war room, so it's kind of irrelevant. They fast forward through it. Now, within an hour of Mackey posting the first text to vote meme on November 1, McNeese had reported it to Twitter. You can't post that. That's illegal. Twitter initially determined that the tweet actually not a violation of the rules at all. After several media organizations picked up the story, then Twitter came down and said, oh yeah, so you're mad at us, so now actually we are going to remove the post. They suspended this meme master, removed his tweets, silencing his free speech during an election on November 2nd, 2016, a very influential account who was doing good work dunking on Hillary. Take him out, take him out, take him out. Mackey returned to Twitter with a new account, Can't Keep Me Down. He tweeted a picture of CNN, a story displaying one of his memes, adding the caption that the feeling when you haphazardly post a politics meme, that's from 4chan, and it winds up on CNN. Mackey also shared this tweet in the war room after rejoining the group, and he thanked the group's members for welcoming him back. Now, even before Mackey sent his first tweet, the Clinton campaign, aware of memes similar to Mackey's and containing the same text code, were circulating on message boards like 4chan, Hillary knew about it, had taken actions to address this. Yeah, Poll is 4chan's political board, a place where you can find spicy memes. Now, on October 29th, the very day that tweet or text-to-vote memes were first posted in the war room, the campaign contacted software company and the company that actually has the phone number, right? Upland Software then reached out to iVision Mobile, the company that controlled the text code listed in the memes. They backtraced it. By November 2016, the day after Mackey posted the first meme, iVision Mobile had instituted an automatic response explaining that any advertisement directing the use of the text code was not associated with the Clinton campaign. Wild! New fact there, okay? So they are responding. They would have responded. I wonder what happens if you text it right now. But you could, of course, text it, even if you're a dumb Democrat voter, like, okay, I'll just go vote by vote of Hillary. And you did that, you get a message. You're dumb. Don't do that. And of the people that did text it, I would bet probably a good portion of those people were on MAGA, just to see. Now, while approximately 5,000 people texted the word Hillary, about 98% got the warning back. The government presented no evidence at trial that his tweets actually tricked anyone into failing to properly vote. No evidence of any harm at all. Did anybody get duped by this guy? No, not a single person of evidence. And these three dorks over at the DOJ and the FBI wrote an entire press release about this, patting themselves on the back. Breon and Nicole. Oh, gosh. So here's the procedural history. So then on January 22nd, 2021, over 4 years, look at that date, right? That was right when Joe Biden came in after stealing the election. And they were so mad about the stolen Trump years. And they started to charge him, okay? Like January 22nd, he just came in. The DOJ had this ready to go. Over 4 years after Mackey posted the text to vote meme, the government filed a complaint charging him with conspiracy, ready to go as soon as Biden came in. From Trump, originally it was Trump's DOJ, right? 16 to 21 around this time, Trump leaves the White House. We just had January 6th. As soon as they come in, meme guy, they were ready, charging him with conspiracy. And honestly, I think this was probably a trial balloon for the other seditious conspiracy charges, which came down later using the same strategy. With the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers, they did the exact same thing, right? So this probably came first. I think the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers, the seditious conspiracy charges were later. Remember, this is a big news story. So they hit this guy first. They say, we're just going to cobble together all of these random messages from these various groups, and we're going to call it a conspiracy, and we're going to see if we can get a conviction on it. And they did. They got it because these loser judges just sat there and took it. In the Eastern District of New York, they returned an indictment charging him with the crime of conspiracy. Now, at trial, the government's evidence consisted of tweets and messages that were posted publicly on the internet. Although the government called 19 witnesses to the stand, like these pathetic prosecutors would, in the government's word, this is fundamentally a documents case. But they brought in 19 witnesses and like forensic technologists. These governments established, in addition to the facts discussed above, that Mackey was an influential player on Trump media. And he was aware of his views and proud of his influence and popularity, as he should be. That he professed racist and misogynistic views, as he's allowed to do. This is America. And he posted these text to vote memes as well, that he expected the election to be close and he thought minority voter turnout might prove decisive and all this. So he's a racist and a bigot looking at all the jurors. He hates brown people, looking at all them right in the eyes in New York. The evidence also established that members of the direct message groups in which Mackey at times participated shared many of his views. And so it's a racist white guy, right? Part of the J6 attack, homegrown domestic violent extremists, all the things. One of Mackey's alleged co-conspirators, who evidently was not did plead guilty, pled guilty to violating and testified pursuant to a cooperation agreement. Okay. So we don't even know who this dude is. He's still under seal, basically. So they scared the crap out of some other dude. Like, all right, you're not going to go to prison, but we got to have you come testify against this guy. He's like, no problem. Whatever you want. As most people would do. Put yourself in that position. Says Microchip, who did not claim to have ever met or spoken to Mackey, never even talked to the guy, admitted, this is the Court of Appeals, and the courts and the judges allowed all this to happen, and the prosecutors and the FBI were complicit in this. They admitted that he himself had posted tweets containing the false information about how to vote with hope that Hillary and other voters would vote incorrectly. And he did it pursuant to, he said, kind of like a silent agreement with other members of the war room. Okay, so maybe he's admitting to the agreement. He's admitting to the conspiracy. So his charges maybe may have some more basis, you could argue. Now, Microchip also testified about the war room's purpose and methods, characterizing the online group as a strategy room, saying its members would share ideas, go to websites, look at 4chan to look for similar content. Other people make them, they just clip them and repost. That's how you do 300 a day. You're not like creating these memes, throwing the graphics around. How can you do that? Now, disclaim the existence of expressly stated agreement to post the tweets. Now, Mackey testified in his own defense. Shout out to him. In addition to claiming, as discussed above, he did not view any of the war room posts. He denied having shared the memes with the intent to threaten, intimidate, oppress, or injure anyone's right to vote. He also testified, rather, that he thought that anyone who saw this would know. You can't vote from home unless you're a moron. You wouldn't think that. Mackey described it, and you probably shouldn't be voting. Mackey described the memes, he said in trial, it's sort of a crap post. You're being just a troll. He thought it'd go viral and rile up the media. And it did. Get under their skin. Get them off message that they wanted to push. And it obviously worked. I mean, they were so mad about it, they waited 4 years and charged him immediately. Now, after a 5-day trial where these prosecutors every day, they're like going home after the trials, they're like, that was so grueling. You did great job. Great job cross-examining Twitter about, or your direct examination of Twitter. Great job. You explained that timeline so perfectly. All of them. Now, and then 5 days for this stupid thing. Then the jury began its deliberations on March 27th. The next day, the jury informed the court, we're done, but we have not reached a unanimous decision. Jury's like, this is ridiculous. The court then gave a mild, modified Allen charge, right, which is get back in there and figure it out. After further deliberations, the jury informed the court, nope, we still don't have a verdict. On March 29th, the court said, what do you mean? And it said, well, we're not unanimous on this. The court again requested clarification. What does this mean? Whether you cannot reach a unanimous decision or whether you're just updating me on your progress. What is the answer? The jury said, Dear Judge Donnelly, based on our thorough review of all materials by all jurors and active discussion among all jurors, we cannot reach a unanimous decision. Your guidance would be greatly appreciated. We don't know. We can't. This is a terrible case. Mackey says, all right, Judge, mistrial. But the court instead gave a full Allen charge. They explain it. It's a supplemental instruction urging the jurors to reach a verdict, right? You're kind of like reading them the right. This is important. You have a job to do. Get back in there. You're not done yet. We're not going to end this, so go do it harder. So she did that. After further deliberations, the jury came back and guilty, right? The judge forced it through. They were already deadlocked. The judge forced it because they're like, we just want to go home. On May 12th, Mackey sought post-trial relief because this judge forced it through. He said, there is no evidence that I was even in a conspiracy at all. It's legally insufficient. Now, after briefing and oral argument, the district court denied relief, said, no, I did a great job. You are amazing. I'm amazing. And prosecutors were amazing. Now, during oral argument, the court noted that the evidence about the direct message groups, the judge even admitted, well, it was a little bit confusing because it didn't exist. There was no evidence of any direct message groups at all because he wasn't in them. Or they didn't have evidence that he saw them, right? Now, he could be lying, but they could beat him up on that. He took the stand even. And requested that the government clarify the dates during which Mackey was a member of the war room. But the court ultimately rejected Mackey's challenge and sentenced Mackey to 7 months in prison from these lying hack prosecutors and FBI agents who are probably still there. I mean, honestly, I don't even know if they're still there or what. I don't know. Maybe they're still looking at Twitter. Discussion, we review the sufficiency, hopefully they're watching this show and this analysis. We review the sufficiency of the evidence de novo. We're going to take a fresh look at it, says the Court of Appeals, viewing the evidence in a light that is most favorable to the government. Like, we're going to give these loser prosecutors who were under Joe Biden at the time the benefit of the doubt here. We must uphold the conviction. If any rational trier of fact could have found that this conviction has merit. Okay, like if we can look at this and we can twist ourselves into a pretzel to make this conviction stick, we have to. We must uphold the conviction if we can find a way to make it work. So let's see if we can do that. A defendant challenging this shoulders a very heavy burden because you have to show that there is no basis whatsoever. But it is not an impossible one, and that's happening now. Now, a conviction, as we know, cannot stand where there's no evidence for it, and he was convicted of conspiracy. But the justification for conspiracy it requires a high burden. And conspiracy is a secretive operation, right? So it's hard to get evidence about it. And so conspiracy has its own rules, right? Conspiracy actually is like this subcomponent of criminal law that requires some extra study for the bar exam and things like that. There's rules about it because it's a little bit different than the others because you can like eject yourself from the conspiracy and things like that. And that the government had extensive access to Mackey's actual tweets and private messages because it wasn't actually secretive, right? So like this conspiracy and saying you have to give heightened deference to the jury because it's a conspiracy charge and you can't just accept the charge. Well, it's for secretive operations, but these were private messages. You had all of them. And you also don't contend that Mackey ever even met a single alleged co-conspirator or ever communicated offline with those whom he supposedly conspired. So there's just no actual evidence at all. Now, in this circumstance, this appears to be one of the rare cases where aspects of a conspiracy can be laid bare in court. And so to prove conspiracy, the government must show two or more persons were entering a joint enterprise for an unlawful purpose, knowing the nature and extent of it. They agreed to do it. There was a collective venture towards a common goal, right? Lots of rules and elements. Now, the defendant must have knowingly joined the conspiracy and participated in the conspiracy. And we want a lot of rules, in order to say, okay, you're a part of a conspiracy. Otherwise, you get hack prosecutors like this that just call everything a conspiracy. Like, it's a pretty high standard to prove that, and they got to meet the elements. They haven't done it here. Now, to underline the point, the government must prove his knowing agreement as to the conspiracy's unlawful purpose. Now, here, that meant they had to prove that Douglas Mackey knew and agreed with members of War Room to impede other people's rights to vote. Like, what was that volitional, what do you have of him that shows that was his mindset? And so the Court of Appeal says, we conclude the government failed to present this sufficient evidence, even when viewed deferentially. Even if we try to twist ourselves to make it fit for you guys, we can't. No reasonable jury could have established there was a knowing agreement beyond a reasonable doubt. And they didn't. The jury didn't find it. The judge made them go back and find it. Now, to begin, the Court of Appeals writes that the Biden prosecutors and the DOJ and the FBI, many of whom are probably still in the government, they presented in italics no evidence, none, no, that Mackey participated in the conspiracy's formation at all. The government put forth extensive evidence that other members of the War Room, as well as members of Microchat and Madman, discussed and distributed memes. But notably absent from any evidence was a single message from Douglas Mackey in any of these direct message groups related to this scheme. Indeed, Mackey was not even a member of Madman number 2 or Microchat from October to the election. And the record contains no evidence that Mackey posted any messages in the War Room in the 2 weeks before he posted his own meme. Now, the evidence of his involvement in a conspiracy thus stands in stark contrast to other members. Microchip came in, he testified at trial. The record shows several messages from him. He was talking about the strategies explicitly. He shared his own posts. He said, well, I'm worried that Trump supporters might do this too. And so he's creating the plan. Now, while he came in, they gave him a smoking deal and probably scared the crap out of him. And he took it, Mackey didn't. While Microchip testified at length regarding the formation of this conspiracy, his testimony was of little probative value as it relates to Mackey. He didn't talk to Mackey, didn't collude with Mackey. There's nothing happening. Microchip never met Mackey, nor, so far as the record discloses, had any other member of the War Room or any other message groups ever met this dude. Microchip's relationship with Mackey, such as it was exclusively online, and as a result, only online interactions could prove that he participated in the conspiracy. And so since they didn't meet in person, You don't have any in-person evidence. You don't have, wiretaps of phone conversations or something. And the record contains no evidence of these interactions, and they got all their messages. Now, the government says that even if there is no evidence that Mackey participated in the planning of the conspiracy, if he viewed the messages that is related to the conspiracy, he had knowledge that an agreement had been formed. And I don't know how they get to that. If he viewed messages related to the conspiracy, that's strange. So if we viewed Mackey's image, do we know that there's a conspiracy happening in the war room? No. So how does that follow? And by posting the text to vote memes with knowledge of this existing agreement, he knowingly joined and participated in the conspiracy by copying and pasting a meme or creating your own meme of your own independent source. The court says this is ridiculous. This evidence is insufficient to establish any of these points. Now, to be sure, nothing is amiss in the government's theory as to how it proved its case. Yeah, it's a great theory. For many conspiracies, whether they're formed in person or online, the defendant's conduct itself, considered in light of all the other circumstances, is probative of the conspiracy. You can see, what is he doing? What was he doing? How did he look? What was his actions that were in furtherance of the conspiracy? For example, if members of an online message group discuss the details of a plan to commit a terrorist attack, and then another member of the group who did not post any messages went on to participate in that attack, the defendant's actions in carrying out the attack might be well enough to support a reasonable inference he was aware of the group's plotting and knowingly joined the conspiracy. In another case, for example, we found that the evidence sufficient to infer that an unwitting courier in a drug conspiracy. We could talk about other things. We could reason and have inferences and sort of look at other factors, look at the context. You may hear it like at the totality of the circumstances, same types of concepts. Now, doing some case law analysis, comparing and contrasting some cases, we come back to the Mackey case. Now he says, all of that being said, to be sure, Mackey sent his first tweet November 1, 2016, only a few days after these other war room posts. But this was also days before the election, and the very time the Clinton campaign was already aware of these memes for months. They knew about it. It happened a long time ago, became sufficiently concerned about this that they initiated a defensive response. This is thus nothing like the hardly coincidental conduct in Anderson, where common sense and other circumstances supported the inference of conspiracy. And it doesn't approach suspicious circumstances either, which would have been insufficient. And so given the plausible non-conspiratorial alternative for his postings, the government needed to offer some other evidence saying he was actually a harder part of the conspiracy, and you have to disprove his argument that he acted independently. So another case provides helpful guidance on this. We'll fast forward through that. But Mackey's memes, very similar. If he had posted precisely similar memes, then there would be some evidence of agreement. Like if he was dumping these messages in the group chat and saying, what do you guys think of this? Is this what you're talking about? Okay, great. Let me post it. Be different. But Mackey's memes, while they shared similar messaging and the same text code as at least one meme distributed in the war room, otherwise differed in significant respects. For example, instead of mentioning the text to vote option as being only for Hillary people, his tweets featured an avatar of someone else wearing a MAGA cap. And he posted, and the post he retweeted included the hashtag MAGA, right? So the idea also is that Mackey, when he's posting this, he's got a MAGA hat right here, right? Like, I'm with her, go Hillary. So you read that, like, it's like a Hillary account? Oh, it's like a MAGA person. So it's clearly not believable, even on its face. Thus, under all circumstances, the ubiquity of similar memes and others, you can't make it connected to the war room and then call that a conspiracy. Now, perhaps the evidence that comes closest to suggesting that Mackey's postings were knowingly instigated as part of this conspiracy are related to the draft our daughters thing. The record says there were 10 posts, 2 sent back October 27 and 28th. The government said, well, if he was doing the draft our daughter, like he was colluding and conspiring with them for draft our daughters, but that's not a conspiracy. There's nothing illegal about that. But they're saying, well, if he worked with them before, he's probably working with them now. But they say, no, sorry. That inference, although it's maybe closer, is still too tenuous to support a reasonable jury verdict. He belonged to dozens of groups or chat rooms. He was posting 300 tweets a day. Against this, even if Mackey may have viewed up to 10 war room posts related to this, hardly probative of whether he viewed the 12 other posts on different days. There were over 600 messages coming in the war room alone. And the 2 October 29th text to vote posts were distributed within 1 and 20 minutes of each other on that particular day. Now, nor for that matter, can much be made of the government's broader suggestion that because Mackey had previously posted memes after viewing this content that he followed the same technique. To be sure, the government presented evidence that he often posted tweets on the same topics as other war room members and did so after viewing those. But the evidence falls short. He saw hundreds of thousands of posts. The mere fact that they posted similar things is not enough. And finally, there remains the question whether other circumstantial evidence could nonetheless say that he knowingly entered into this, even if he did not view the war room posts. The government said there's other ways we can get him. Evidence of a general shared purpose and methods of the members of various message boards. And he also retweeted someone else's. They say this, again, none of this is sufficient to make up for the government's inability to establish that Mackey viewed the messages in which the conspiracy was planned. Now, much of the government's evidence, including hundreds of direct messages and tweets, focus on the general objectives and the methods of the war room, right? Much broader than anything that's actually charged. The evidence established that the group's objective was to promote messages and memes, support Trump, dunk on Hillary. They understood the importance of coordinating, boosting each other's posts. The government has not alleged that any of these messages were unlawful, all legal, but they were just using them as basically an orgy of evidence, right? To throw in there. Look at all this bad stuff. Same things they did with the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers. This was a trial balloon. But it nonetheless relies on this evidence to infer that Mackey was involved in a later conspiracy. Now, the government also appears to urge broader inference as well. So just presume that they did these things because they shared a common purpose, which we know was to support Trump. And that's why they're being prosecuted, is because they supported that guy and he beat the crap out of their candidate politically. This argument, however, extends the concept of a conspiracy way past its breaking point. To say that anybody who has a common purpose is a part of a conspiracy is ridiculous, right? Which they wanted that to happen. And they prosecuted everybody who was even connected to Trump in January 6th in the aftermath of their seizure of power. But that doesn't mean the government proved that there was a knowing conspiracy. Mere association is not enough to prove knowing involvement. Now, the government also points to his retweet, but as the government acknowledged, that other person he retweeted was not a part of the conspiracy. So it undermines their arguments. It suggests that Mackey would not have needed to even view the war room because other people were posting similar things. So it's like, you guys are so dumb. The government, however, also suggested in its summation that Mackey's retweet alone, that one retweet, was a conspiracy agreement, okay? What prosecutor said that? It argued to the jury that the retweet evidenced two members of the war room working together, trying to trick people out of voting. No, it wasn't. That other Nia was not even a part of it. So that prosecutor lied. I wonder if there was an objection there. Probably not. You missed that stuff, right? I don't know. No objection. But the Court of Appeals called it, which is why you got the appeals and the records, is what's all recorded. And on its own, it was enough to show a common criminal plan in action. But again, this person was not a war room member at the time. Prosecutor wrong on the facts. Now, nor does the retweet otherwise establish an unlawful agreement between this person and Mackey. Nia was not a stranger to Mackey. They'd retweeted each other's posts before, and it was a she. Her text to vote post also mentioned Mackey's Twitter handle. Thanks, Mackey, for spreading the word. But even assuming that a retweet could, under certain circumstances, reflect an agreement, for that agreement to be conspiratorial, it must be directed towards an unlawful purpose. And as relevant here, the common goal must be something like injuring a right to vote. And we haven't seen that here. The government presented evidence that Mackey individually may have intended to injure people. And they presented evidence that war members individually may have wanted to do that, but the government did not and could not argue that every Twitter user who posted or reposted text-to-vote memes did so for a conspiratorial purpose. What? A user might have reposted those memes for purely satirical purposes because they're hilarious. Or users might even have done so because they were genuinely tricked into believing that texting to vote was a viable option and they wanted to spread the word. Now, Mackey offered another alternative. He says, we just wanted to rile them up. We wanted to get under their skin. There was a lot of meme magic. There were centipede songs. All sorts of stuff was going on. It was crazy times. The jury was not required and did not credit this explanation. But you cannot, from that retweet alone, confer that this was an intent to injure citizens. Many reasons for that. Now, the record is devoid of any evidence that would permit a rational juror to conclude that Nia and Mackey reached an agreement for the common goal of injuring citizens. There's no evidence of that. If anything, the sparse evidence in the record is showing the contrary. The post that Mackey retweeted included the hashtag called MAGA. It's a joke. They're so humorless, they can't even figure it out. And including that hashtag alongside a text-to-vote meme is fundamentally at odds with the purpose of deceiving Clinton voters into believing this. In sum, the meager evidence is insufficient to establish anything beyond a reasonable doubt that they were co-conspirators. And so Congress expressly limited the conspiracy statute because you can abuse the hell out of it, as you see here. There are several reasons why Congress may have done so, because hack prosecutors like these three, Breon, Nicole, and James, all of them, acted in concerted actions. They were in their own conspiracy to attack Mackey. Here, the government conceded Mackey downloaded his tweets from 4chan. They also failed to establish that he became aware of the war room memes. That theory was possible, but so was another one, that he got them independently and posted them on his own. There was no evidence from which a juror could choose among the competing inferences and resolve these in the government's favor. You can't tell them, just use your common sense and experience in order to show that. Now, the law requires proof, knowingly entering into an unlawful agreement. And here, no rational trier of fact could have found the essential elements of this crime beyond a reasonable doubt. Prosecutors and FBI agents blown out. For these reasons, we reverse Mackey's conviction and remand the case to the district court with instructions to enter a judgment of acquittal. Amazing. So shout out to Douglas Mackey, man. He's so happy about this, as he should be. I would like to thank God, thank my family, thank my beautiful wife, attorney Andrew Frisch, amazing, the incredible attorneys at Jones Day, and you, the friends who prayed and donated and spread the word since day one. And shout out to Douglas Mackey, amazing. Make sure you're giving him a follow for the appeal of the ages. Well done. The DOJ prosecutors and the FBI people, I don't know if they're still there, but these folks should be ashamed of themselves. Breon Peace, Nicole M. Argentieri, and James Smith, the assistant director in charge of the FBI New York field office. Is he still there? James Smith still over there? Is Nicole Argentieri still in the criminal division over there? Probably. We'll see for how long. Congrats to Douglas Mackey. Shout out. Thank you for the meme magic. Thank you for being a fighter through the entire case all the way to the end. And congrats on the victory. And in doing so, absolutely shows just how corrupt the prosecutors are, right? This was a public service, so all of us could see the Supreme Court eviscerate their prior work. And they sat there saying that they were giving Douglas Mackey due process. They were charging him with fake crimes, fake charges that didn't exist. Presented no evidence, and they were going to lock him up, man, for 7 months. But fortunately, guy has fortitude and persevered and now emerges victorious. Amazing. So make sure you're following him over on X. All right, we got some other updates, and then we'll hear from you. Pam Bondi and the DOJ shooting for a comeback. They are now announcing they are going to protect girls, but it's just going to be on playing fields and in locker rooms. And then we're going to do a great job moving forward on all the other girls moving forward, starting now. She posted this: California officials are failing to protect girls on the playing field and in the locker room. And so the DOJ has now sued. Here's Pam Bondi and the Department of Education, Linda McMahon.
Over the past several weeks, the Department of Education has notified the Department of Education in California, as well as the California Interscholastic Federation, that they were in violation of Title IX. They were allowing men to compete in women's sports. Now, this is after years of their being in violation of Title IX. We informed them that if they did not change, that we were going to refer these cases to the Department of Justice, and we have done exactly that.
Thank you, Secretary McMahon, for all of your hard work. And today, the Department of Justice has filed a lawsuit against California Department of Education and the governing body for women's sports in California. We've made it very clear, only women in women's sports under Title IX. An example in California, a boy who was in track and field. He would have lost every race. Yet in women's sports, he won over 36 medals. Those medals should be returned to the women, as well as no boys will be allowed in women's locker rooms. No longer. We have sued Maine. We're in litigation with Minnesota. We've sent multiple letters. And if you do not comply, you're next. The Department of Education and the Department of Justice, we will protect girls in girls' sports.
But not on islands. But okay, so we're going to, move on definitely, but there are some comments that are down here. Yeah. All right. So we're going to, of course, celebrate the victories that we do have. And here is what they announced for us. The DOJ suing California Department of Education. They are engaged in illegal sex discrimination against female student athletes, right? And this stuff is important. So we do have to acknowledge we want to have, if we can't have all the victories, we want most of the victories, saying that they're depriving girls of equal education and protection under the law. And the complaint is now suing them, saying that our gifts to you, to California, is $44 billion. And there's a bunch more money that's coming your way, and there will be repercussions for this if you do not comply with our new laws. And here's what they wrote. Suing California, the United States of America, Pam Bondi and the Department of Education said, California Interscholastic Federation and Department of Education, you're now sued. Across the state of California, girls must compete against boys in various sports thanks to the California Department of Education. It's happening in California. These are discriminatory policies. They ignore undeniable biological differences between the two. They instead defer to gender identity. Now, the result of these illegal policies are stark. Girls are displaced from podiums by dudes, denied awards, and miss out on critical visibility for college and scholarships. Now, in the words of the governor of California, it is deeply unfair for girls to compete against boys. Wow, Gavin said that. How's that going to work out for him when he runs for president? Well, I think people are over the trans stuff. So this discrimination is not only illegal and unfair, but it's demeaning. It's signaling to girls their opportunities and achievements are secondary to accommodating boys who think they're girls. It erodes the integrity of girls' sports. It diminishes their competitive experience. It undermines the very purpose of the law, which is providing equal access to benefits. Despite warnings from the Department of Education, California education is still requiring California schools to allow boys to compete against girls. And so we're suing them to stop this from happening. And why do we need to do this? It's because it's actually harming girls. It's denying girls the same opportunity. And these athletic policies are unfair and they're harming them. Now, not only do their policies and actions eviscerate equal athletic opportunities, they also require girls to share intimate spaces, locker rooms with boys, causing hostile educational environments, and more. The law not supposed to allow that to happen. We want both sexes to have equal athletic opportunity, and the inherent differences between the two sexes make them not similarly situated in athletics. There are physiological differences that exist regardless of a person's made-up gender identity. Because of these physiological differences, providing athletic teams, competitions, events, and other intimate spaces to girls specifically, has long ensured that female student athletes are afforded safe spaces, and now they're violating the law. They've implemented policies that allow these competitions to happen, and so now we're seeking a declaratory judgment against these people. So the California Interscholastic Federation is being sued, big body, Department of Education being sued. We're suing in court, Central District of California. And they're going through the laws, and they write, according to the athletic regulation, when a recipient provides sex-separated athletic teams, the teams must remain separated by sex with only one clearly defined limited exception. Now, the regulation provides some other things and more. Now, the CDE, lots of technical stuff here. The CDE has control. They get the funding. Federal government gives them a bunch of money. They issue guidance. And now they're discriminating. So now, as we see, they have policies that are actually in violation of federal law. They're their rules. This is how the money works. And they're in violation. They currently have posted on their website its guidance entitled Gender Equity in Title IX. It says the laws found in the California Education Code are known as sex equity in education. They expand upon gender equity and more. And they say, a pupil in California law shall be permitted to participate in sex-segregated school programs and activity, including athletic teams, and use facilities consistent with his or her, what? 2, gender identity, irrespective of the gender listed on the pupil's records. So wherever you want to go, whatever you feel like doing, just go, it's fine. It also defines interscholastic activities, and on May 11th, they sent a letter to a state superintendent that said the following: follow our rules. We are providing safeguards here in California against discrimination based on gender identity. And so make sure you're following the rules. So then in March, they also responded, yep, you got to comply with California law. Don't comply with Trump's laws. They're sending emails out to everybody. Notice to the school, we know Trump came in, don't change anything. Gender diverse youth sport inclusivity toolkit is also being provided. Get it on their website, sifstate.org, coaches, gender diversity toolkit, which shows you how to, modify yourself to go participate. In May, defendants acknowledged the harmful effect on girls. California even realized it's not great for girls. To qualify for state and track field, an athlete must be you must be good. You got to be somebody who qualifies at large standards. Now, a few days before the championship meet on May 27th and 28th, SIF implemented a pilot entry process by which a biological female student athlete who would have earned the next qualifying mark will be advanced to the finals. And they also announced, if necessary, in the high jump, triple jump, and long jumps, a biological female student who would have earned a specific placement on the podium will be awarded the medal for that place, and the results will be reflected in the recording of the event. Wait, what? So the dude and the best chick are going to get the #1 spot? CIF, through the pilot entry process and its references to biological females, has said that there are advantages that males have in sports, obviously. Now, as detailed below, student 1, a boy, competed in a girls' track meet and got first in the girls' triple jump, first in the girls' high jump, and second in the girls' long jump. Oh, he got beat by a girl. Currently, in the CIF website, the results page for 2025 track and field lists student #1, this dude, in first place in the girls' high school jump, first place in girls' triple jump, second place. The pilot entry process also fails to remedy past discrimination And they acknowledge that there are physical differences and more. Now, student one, right, this is going on in California. Pam Bondi's suing over this, saying student one is a male student athlete who's competing against female athletes from 2022 to the present. He's over in Jaripa. In all track and field events, this dude competed against all girls on the track. Even though there was a boys track and field team, he could have competed in that, but he would have gotten crushed. On February 8th, student one competed in the Girls California Winter State and Track outdoor triple jump. First place and displaced the girls who competed. His distance would have placed 23rd if he went and played with the boys. Doesn't want to do that though. Student one also competed against the girls in the long jump and placed third. Student one's long jump distance was 6.25 inches shorter than the 28th place finisher in the boys. Now, on February 22nd, that same student competed against the girls in Ontario and set the Division III's triple jump meet record. 40-foot triple jump, which was more than 8 feet longer than the second place finisher, who was female. 8 feet. Student one also won the girls' long jump and high jump. On May 17th, this person also competed against the girls in the outdoor triple jump and outdoor long jump in the state finals, placing first in both events, displacing the girls. Had student one competed against the boys, his distances would have been 9th in the triple jump, and he would have failed to make a recognized placement to qualify. These wins, though, qualified him to move up. Student one then competed against another one in the Masters meet. Again, just out jumping all these ladies. He tied for 4th in the high jump, but won the outdoor triple jump and outdoor long jump. If he competed against the boys, he would have been well behind all the others. His triple jump distance was nearly 3 feet shorter than the last place boys competitor and 10 inches lower than another competitor. Now, on May 31, he also competed against the girls in another, and it, was crushing the gals. You get the point here. Student number 2 did the same thing, displacing all these other students. And why is that fair to the girls? I don't know. I don't understand it. Why we have to fracture their system for this. It's so strange. Student 2 is a male athlete competing against female athletes, track and field. Then at the Cool Breeze Invitational 3-mile run, he finished first, of course. But his time for the boys, 115th place. On August 3rd, 5,000-meter varsity run, 18 minutes. Student 2's time was almost 2 minutes faster than the girl. Same thing April. 100-meter hurdle and other things, just obliterated the women. Same thing there. Student 3 did the same thing. Crushed a bunch of chicks. Ladies, I know. Students, the girl athletes, crushed. Student 5, crushed. And the California people are just enabling this. They don't care about the ladies. It says, because of the privacy interests that arise, we think there should be separate facilities. By denying female student athletes access to intimate spaces, you are harming them. And the student has even said, while she was changing her clothes in the female locker room, a male student was sitting in the locker room watching her, and other female students undressing, just leering at them. He had no reason to be in the locker room other than to watch them, and all of the administrators are like, just don't be a bigot. Let them have it. Let them watch you. So they failed to accommodate girls. Girl athletes and their families have an interest, and they should be protected. Girls athletes and their families have an interest, and the defendants are attacking them and entering in discriminatory policies. And even at their high schools in California, 2 athletes wrote this on their shirts. Save girls' sports. It's common sense. XX does not equal XY. They were a reaction to the school displacing a girl from a girls' cross-country team for a boy. Ridiculous. School officials required the girls to remove or cover their shirts and told them that wearing the shirts was like wearing a swastika in front of Jewish students. The transes are like the Jews now? Jewish students? What? The female student was removed from her position on the girls' varsity cross-country team so that the dude could come in and win. And so they are launching their investigation, several counts, saying You're in violation of Title IX, and there are contractual requirements that you have to comply with, and you're not doing that. And so the United States suing California and their educational departments, seeking a permanent injunction to prohibit the schools from letting the dudes go beat the heck out of the ladies in the sports. Implement a monitoring system to make sure that they're doing this. And compensate the female athletes who have been denied equal athletic opportunities, equal protection under the law, and submit compliance reports as well. Coming out of the Harmeet Dillon office, Assistant Attorney General for the Civil Rights Division, hitting California in between the eyes. And so we'll keep our eye on this. Pam Bondi and the Department of Education working hard to protect some girls, and we're excited about that. All right, so good updates there. Now let's talk about Joe Biden and then hear from you. We got this from James Comer. Joe Biden's doctor pleaded the fifth. Doesn't want to talk, would rather remain silent, because if he talks, we know what he's going to say, and it's not going to be good for Joe or all the people that got his pardons and all those bills and executive orders that he passed. James Comer, who has been at the top of this, demanding people come in and sit for interviews and depositions, posted this today. Says, President Joe Biden's physician, Dr. Kevin O'Connor, just pled the fifth at his deposition before Congress today. It's now clear that there was a conspiracy to cover up Biden's cognitive decline after Dr. Kevin O'Connor, Biden's physician and family business associate, refused to answer any questions and chose to hide behind the Fifth Amendment. The American people demand transparency, but Dr. O'Connor would rather conceal the truth. Dr. O'Connor took the fifth when asked if he was told to lie about President Biden's health and whether he was fit to be president of the United States. I plead the fifth. Congress must assess legislative solutions to prevent this type of cover-up from happening again, and we will continue to interview more Biden White House aides to get the answers that Americans deserve. Now, we saw that Andy Biggs was also dunking on this. He said, Kevin O'Connor, Joe Biden's White House, just pled the fifth to all questions except his name during the deposition, all of them. He's covering up what could be our nation's biggest scandal, and even radical Democrats agree, remember? The refusal to answer questions, not good for Joe. Even Dan Goldman said, the Fifth Amendment ensures that people are not forced to incriminate themselves, but you don't take the fifth if you didn't do anything wrong. So why is Joe Biden's doctor pleading the fifth? Now, what also happened today is the White House waived executive privilege for this guy. So when he was going in today, right, he could have said, oh, sorry, executive privilege. I can't talk about any of that. Doctor, patient, whatever, White House privilege. I work there, so I can't talk about it. But that was waived today by the White House, yesterday rather, the day before the hearing. I write regarding a subpoena issued to you from James Comer. Now, in light of the unique and extraordinary nature of the matters under investigation, President Trump has determined that an assertion of executive privilege is not in the national interest. So you can talk about this. It's not justified with respect to particular subjects. And these subjects include your assessment of Biden's fitness for the office of the president and your financial relationship with the Biden family. Now, the extraordinary events in this matter constitute exceptional circumstances, warranting an accommodation to Congress. Evidence that aides to former President Biden concealed information regarding his fitness to exercise the powers of the president and may have unconstitutionally exercised those powers themselves to aid in their concealment implicates both Congress's constitutional and legislative powers. The Constitution of the United States empowers Congress with the ability to remove the president under the 25th Amendment when the VP and the cabinet attempt to remove a president who's unable to perform the duties of the office. As was explained in the letter from the House Oversight Committee requesting your testimony, Congress may consider a legislative response to address concerns about the ability of future presidential aides to conceal information critical to the Congress's exercise of its powers. And so after balancing the legislative and executive branch interests as required under the accommodation process, it is the president's view that this presents an exceptional situation in which the congressional need for information outweighs the executive branch interest in maintaining confidentiality, especially given our own interests in determining the validity of prior actions. And so Trump reached this view, consistent with the practice established under the Biden administration. Remember, they did this too. So Trump has decided it would not be appropriate to assert executive privilege with respect to communications with Biden and his advisors on matters related to the scope of your interview. And so go wild. Now, therefore, given these extraordinary circumstances, including Trump's determination on executive privilege and having reviewed the scope of the interview request, the president authorizes you to provide unrestricted testimony irrespective of any privileges. This accommodation is unique to these facts. And so Trump has also determined he's not going to assert immunity either to protect you from this. And so we are not requesting that any lawyers be permitted to attend the deposition with you. And so good night and good luck. Signed by Gary Lakowski. Of course, that went out. Then today he showed up. He's like, oh, crap. So he just pled the fifth multiple times throughout the interview. This was James Comer from yesterday before this took place, explaining that he is on a mission. And here is what he had to say.
Republicans are speaking out tonight about what they call an attempt to delay the investigation into the alleged cover-up of then-President Biden's mental decline. This one involves a key witness who has knowledge, intimate knowledge, of Biden's medical care. Our senior national correspondent Aisha Husney has that story tonight from Capitol Hill.
Tonight, House Republicans are threatening to hold former President Biden's White House physician in contempt of Congress as Dr. Kevin O'Connor tries to delay his congressional deposition set for tomorrow. In a letter obtained by Fox News, O'Connor's attorney is asking the Oversight Committee to pause and strike a deal on ground rules for the questioning to protect him from disclosing anything that could be covered by doctor-patient confidentiality. Writing, Dr. O'Connor has legal and ethical obligations that he must satisfy and for which violations carry serious consequences to him professionally and personally. The committee tells Fox it's yet another delay tactic to stonewall its investigation into an alleged cover-up of President Biden's cognitive decline. They say House rules allow witnesses to assert privilege on a question-by-question basis, but that it's up to the chair to rule on those claims.
It's our legal understanding that he cannot hide behind HIPAA laws or patient-doctor confidentiality. The White House has waived executive privilege.
Republicans want to know what tests Dr. O'Connor performed on then-President Biden and whether Biden's inner circle asked him to issue reports saying that he was fit for office, as they try to figure out if there was any misuse of the auto pen. And so, John, if Dr. O'Connor does not show up tomorrow, then the House Oversight Committee will begin its contempt proceedings against him for violating that subpoena. They also have on tap the former chief of staff, Ron Klain, and the former senior advisor, Anita Dunn. They are set to be deposed later this summer.
All right. Well, we saw Neera Tanden, who may or may not have been the person behind the auto pen. She came in, testified, and actually said that everything was above board, nothing to see here. Now we got this guy who's suddenly pleading the fifth. We'll see what Ron Klain does and the rest of them as they're hauled in. But as Dan Goldman said, if Joe Biden was vigorous and vibrant and you're an amazing doctor and you did your job and you tested everything and he was good to go, why are you having to plead the fifth there, Doc? Because we know the truth. All right, my friends. What a beautiful stream it has been. And if you're just joining us, thanks for being here. Quick recap on what we talked about. We talked about some meme magic today. So here is this shocking illegal meme once again on your screen. I know how traumatizing it is. Douglas Mackey almost went to prison for 7 months as a result of Joe Biden's horrible prosecutors who did such a terrible job that the Court of Appeals came back down and said, you have no evidence for anything. And you still prosecuted this over a 5-day trial over years. You had a whole complaint ready to go. It just shows you how rotten many people there are. We also talked about California. Pam Bondi, Linda McMahon, Department of Education coming out announcing they're going to be fighting for girls in sports, trying to keep the boys out in California. California doesn't, everybody can do whatever they want over there. And DOJ responded. Now, we got a short update in the Biden White House investigation. The doctor today went in, pled the fifth, not wanting to talk about anything. More interviews will be happening, privileges being waived, and we're starting to see what feels like maybe a little bit of nervousness out there in Bidenville. But now, my friends, it's time to hear from you. And it's been a beautiful day. Happy Wednesday. I hope your week is unfolding brilliantly and you're accomplishing everything you set your mind to. Thank you for being here. Thanks for subscribing if you haven't already done that. Don't forget to check out Fatty15 in the description below, of course. And welcome to new membos. What a beautiful, we got some new membos here. And it is a beautiful Wednesday. Shout out to these pups. Happy Wednesday, all downhill from here, baby. Thank you for that. And Donut, thanks for clipping. Cardinal O'Flanagan says Biden's doctor is silent. Yeah, clearly. Well, except for flat lying about his mental and physical health for 4 years. Yeah, nobody wanted to talk about that. And now he definitely doesn't want to talk about it when he's hauled in front of Congress. And the cancer thing, too. Remember Joe Biden had cancer, and does he still have cancer? I don't even know. Knox Bierman is here, sharing this report from the Babylon Bee. You know it's a satire site, but this is probably true. Says, there is no Epstein list. Say Epstein's clients. So that sounds like a pretty good source to me. I mean, if the clients are saying it, that's a pretty good indication that it must be truthful. At publishing time, the CIA also released a statement clarifying that the CIA had no involvement in the assassination of JFK, says Donut. Did they do that? We didn't do it. Don't look at us. Did they do that? Alice Elizabeth says Walter Kern seems to think that the reason they are denying the existence of Epstein's client list is because they need to hold it to go after some RICO case thing. Legally, is there a reason that keeping the list under wraps to go after something bigger might make sense? Yeah, no, there is. Yeah, definitely. Like if you want to keep, investigations are always kept under wraps. What you don't do is write a memo that exonerates all of the people that you're investigating, So like for this theory to work, they indict 50 people. They go get Reid Hoffman and Bill Gates, and there's this big operation behind the scenes. You're Bill Gates' lawyer. You just take this memo that Pam Bondi gave you, and it's a get out of jail free card that says there's no evidence. We looked at everything, okay? We did top to bottom, 300 gigabytes. We looked at 300 gigabytes, and that's all. And we reviewed everything. And she just referred us to the OIG report from 2023 anyway about Epstein's death in jail. So it's a get out of free jail card. You just say, I'm obviously innocent. So if you're prosecuting me now, you said before, and even if the DOJ comes back out like, well, we were just joking before. We just tricked you before. And now we have the real evidence. To be like, well, why'd you say that? You came out, you said it in a cabinet meeting that it was just, CP, that there was nothing to it. And so personally, we talked about this morning on the members only stream. I think what Pam Bondi did was worse than not doing anything, actually, because it is now a tool that the PDF files can use to say, see, nothing there. Rather than her just saying, we're still looking at it. We haven't reached any conclusions. It's a deep case. We're missing stuff. It's going to take a long time. And maybe we never get answers. But now there's finality to it. And the finality is not just that, not that we didn't find anything, but that there could be something there. It's that there is no list. There is no evidence to prosecute anybody else. And there are no third parties. So now if you turn around and you say there are third parties and there is a lot of evidence, the defendants who would be a part of this RICO prosecution would then turn around and say, well, what the heck changed? Like if you're going to take down a mob boss or something, right? You don't like the DOJ doesn't write a memo like, we love this person and there's nothing else bad happening here. And then you go and take them all out, right? So you take them out. Everybody knows that they're a bad person. You just go take them out. She just exonerated basically a bunch of PDF files, which is worse than not doing anything. Psychological projectionist. What's up? Pleading the fifth. He thinks a crime was committed. Yeah, not always. That's not always the case. Like we love our Fifth Amendment. We love the right to remain silent. But if you're the White House's doctor and you did nothing wrong and you're just being asked questions about the president's fitness, couldn't you say, no, I did. Yeah, of course. I thought he was fit. I did my job. I did everything by the books. I'm totally fine. It certainly feels suspicious. Yeah, and even if he's not, like, let's say, okay, we don't want to charge him with a crime. Fine. Oh, you're concerned about being charged with a crime? I'm going to be committing a crime? You have immunity. Whatever. Just say whatever you want. We're not going to prosecute you. Oh, no, we just want your help, actually. We're going to give you a smoking deal. We'll put you on a podcast. You come on the shows. Maybe a right-wing star. Everybody will love you. Thank you for telling us what really happened. Like, you'll be amazing. Just tell us the truth. That's all we're asking for, the truth. We don't want you to make anything up. Just be honest with us. We'll give you total immunity. Testimonial immunity. We won't charge you with a thing. Just talk. But he doesn't want to do that, right? What's up? Hey, Dark Creeper X. What's up, Dark Creeper X? Hey, amazing. Good to see you. Hey, Rob, love your show. Then my apologies. I usually listen to your show between 2 to 5 a.m. while writing. Something about it soothes my mind. Man, thanks for that, Dark Creeper. I understand what you're saying, and I appreciate being company while you're doing your work. It really means a lot to me because I have a lot of that. I still have that experience and I understand it. So thank you for that. Back to the Epstein film. Nobody seems to be noticing or concerned about the amazing disappearing bag during the mysterious minute. The bags next to the door changed during that minute. Either someone was there and took one or they got the set wrong during the staging for their second part. It's been bugging me why no one has mentioned it. Wow. Okay, so Donut. Man, Donut. Amazing. Thank you for clipping both of those. Yeah, there were some weird things. Let's just pull that up right now. I think I probably have it. Video 1. Yeah, and then they had video 2 here. And so if we pull this up, had that still from yesterday's stream in the browser history. And yeah, and this was not the enhanced version, right? And so you still can see some stuff over there. And man, can you just back that up just a smidge there? Yeah, so we're watching this region and the clock is ticking and we still don't have a good explanation for the time. And here, let me just move this up a smidge so you guys can see the time on that a little bit more clearly. Down here. Oh wait, that's not working. All right, it's going to flip in a minute. Get my mouse off there. So that scroll bar goes away. All right, it's not going away. But we got 15 seconds left, and so we're watching this region. We're down to, here we go, 54, 55, 56. It's going to flip. Oh, wait, we're not even close. My apologies. Now we're close. I couldn't even see the screen. Now 57, 58. Yeah, it's hard to scrub this a little bit. Gosh, right there. Yeah, so even just scrolling back and forth between the two. It does look like somebody's kind of moving over there. Yeah, it's interesting. Was that just a guard? 1206, that dude coming out. All right, anyways. Good stuff. Yeah, who knows? And we haven't seen a good explanation for it. But the bag, who's there? And why did the angle change on the camera? Somebody said maybe they went and physically flipped it, like turned it on or off or something. It looked like it shifted a little bit and you lost a full minute. I don't know. Doesn't make sense. Hey, Philip Coggins. What's up, Philip? If you fall for that meme, then you shouldn't be allowed to vote. It's kind of just like a good test as to your mental faculties. It's just like a test. Like if you can't take the cap off the pen, you can't vote. All right. Like you just got to get out of here. Doan, hey, the best and most sophisticated satire requires a substantial element of truth, and the apoplectic left simply isn't equipped to compete on our level. Well, they have no real sense of humor. Like they had their little time with like Jon Stewart, who did his thing, which was, you know, satirical and kind of fun and kind of funny because you're mocking the ridiculousness of government. It's a lot of what we do here. It's kind of, satire as old as time. But after that, like even now, they're like even Jon Stewart's old comedy. I don't think it would do that well under the wokeified New Democratic Party. Like a lot of it, he's still around, but It's not the same vibe from them. They're just mostly miserable. And so as long as we have fun, that's what I appreciate about our side, is like we can at least have fun. And yes, we can go hard, in the paint and get aggressive and get angry and get agitated and, righteously indignant and all the things. But we can also have fun and not take ourselves too seriously and just understand that this is part of a much bigger ride that we're all on. And so we should enjoy it at least a bit. Hey, Wes Downer. What's up, Wes? Thanks, Wes, for bringing in 10 new Membo friends. And members, stick around. We're going to do our after party and debrief in just a minute. We got Craig Law. What's up, Craig? Top of Mind is here. Chris JJ. Funkadelic, welcome. Joel Reyes. What's up? AF5WO Field Boss is here. Kimberly Ferris. Paul Gothard. Kitchen Mortician. And Gillis in the house. All gifted membos, courtesy of Wes Downer. Thank you, Wes, for doing that. And welcome to 10 new friends. We have this comment from the Rubos. It looks like it's a prayer for cancer to be cured in Susanna. It's from the Rubos. They write, by the power in the name and the blood of Jesus, we pull down every stronghold of cancer, infirmity, and premature death Satan has erected over your life. I rebuke cancer, infirmity, and death. They have no place in you, no power over you. They are defeated hosts. I declare you are healed by the stripes of Jesus, and that you shall not die, but live and declare the works of the Lord. In Jesus' name, I pray. To God be all the glory. Amen. From the Rubos. Amazing prayer. Amazing prayers. Thank you to the Rubos. Hey, Real with Robo. What's up? 16 months as a membo. Cody, my son, 19, says, hi, Rob. You're awesome. What's up, Cody? Man, thanks for hanging out with your dad or mom or whoever you're hanging out with. And thanks for watching the show. Shout out to Cody. Shout out to Papa Cody. Real with Robo. Thanks for being here for 16 months, Real with Robo. We appreciate you. And shout out to Cody. Appreciate you too. Hey, Philip Butler. I followed Microchip on Twitter. Is he in jail? No, I doubt that. I bet he took a sweet little plea deal and didn't get jail, but he had to testify against the other guy. Like they really wanted someone else. Salt and Light. Yet Trump's cut off head is held, and that's okay. Yeah. What was her name? Kathy Griffin? Remember that? She held Trump's head up like a psycho. I think she's doing that again now. She has them all hanging in her like hallway. Elon's head, Jeff Bezos's head. It's a sickness, man. It's like something is seriously wrong. How would you want that in your house? A decapitated head hanging on your wall as art. Sharpie Guy. Hey, it's too late, Pam Bondo says, Bondo is a plastic filler. Not talking about Bondi, but Bondo in general. It's a plastic filler used in the old days to smooth out cars so it could hide the wrecks. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. And you sand it down. That said, Rob, how do we deal with the DOJ and the FBI attempts to sweep it under the proverbial rug like decades of the same before? Rob, our guru extraordinaire, lead us to peace, please. Yeah, I mean, I don't have a good answer on this one. Like, Trump was our answer on this one, We're like, yeah, Trump, he's going to do it. And then it's like, it didn't really work out. So there's not really a good answer. It's kind of like, we're not going to get it. So just settle in on that one. I think that, like anything, like you're going to lose games. You're going to lose. You got to get back out there. You're going to have a player who like drops the ball. You're going to be that guy in the foosball game who kicks it in your own goal when you're playing doubles in your own goal. And then your partner's going to look at you just like, you did that to us? And it's like, almost will wreck your entire friendship. Sometimes it happens on both ends. I've been on the receiving end and the giving end. Depends on the moment in the game. But, in a foosball game. But the point is, Sharpie Guy, yeah, I think you just kind of got to get back out there. It's the next battle. We got to just look to the next game. Doan, the left's projection of Nazism and fascism increased at the same frequency as the kangaroo courts, almost identical to Hitler's people's courts. Yeah, and and then they're also doing it from like the opposite. Like democracy is almost like motherland, right? Like the communists or the fascists might say like our motherland, or for like Mother Germany. They're like for democracy. You're like, do you even know what that means? Kitanji? No. What's up, Philip Butler? The whole point of Twitter is to make viral trends. Yeah, pretty much. And that's what they were doing. And then they got prosecuted for a repost for being involved in a conspiracy. King of Biltong is here, talking about some Biltong, baby. You know where to go, biltongusa.com. You can use code Robert, save some 10% off. King of Biltong, thanks for the dono. Says free shipping if you order over $54.95, which should be easy to do because it's delicious. So get your Biltong, biltongusa.com. Thanks, King of Biltong, for supporting us. Wes Downer, I remember telling people back in 2016 that Republicans voted on the first Tuesday in November on November 8th, and that the Democrats voted 1 week later on November 15th. Are they coming after me too? Are they? I don't know. Hopefully not, Wes Downer. The statute of limitations, I don't know if that expired. I want a conspiracy. I don't know. They probably could come get you. But fortunately, I think you're in the green zone now. We got President Trump in charge, so they're not going to prosecute you for that one. But when the Bidens come back in, or when the Democrats come back in, if and when that ever happens, it might be smart to be on the lookout for that. What's up, Don't? We all are. We're all going to be on the lookout. What's up, Don't? What? Dr. O'Connor couldn't afford a pardon? That's a great question. Yeah, why didn't they pardon him, right? Because that would have looked too self-serving. Why does this doctor need a pardon? Because the doctor was part of the cover-up. Cardinal O'Flanagan says, foosball is the devil. No, Mama. I like the foosball. That was, what was his name? It wasn't Bobby? No, Ricky Bobby was Talladega Nights. It was, anyways, yeah, it was a movie. Waterboy, Adam Sandler. Hey, the Rubos. Sir, you asked, why are you still talking about this sleazebag? Well, number one, the children. We will never forget the children. This was your campaign promise, helping you keep your word and helping keep you honest from the Rubos. Yeah, and I think that is a useful endeavor. Like, want to be useful towards the benefit of America. And how do we do that? I think it's by, well, being honest and trying to pursue the truth, calling out our side when there's failures and supporting our side when there's victories. But in the end, what is the final outcome? Like, what do you want the end game to be? And if your outcome ultimately results in like Democrats winning, then your intentions don't matter because it's the outcome that matters. So you might have a lot of intentions and this and that. You might want justice and all this. But if it results in the Democrats winning, then you have to weigh that into effect. And you might have to say, well, it's worth it for me. That's actually worth it. This issue is worth it for me, right? I think that I will break with Trump because of this. I don't care if the Democrats win because I'm so upset about this. That's, I think, also valid too. But many people are trying to figure out where that line is in this new administration, yours truly included. DC Metro, what's up? Thank you, DC, for the very nice dono. No comment on that one, but we appreciate your support. Thanks for sending us some love today. Vicky Valancourt. Bobby Boucher. That's it, Bobby Boucher. Yeah, I couldn't think of his name. I thought Ricky Bobby, so I was kind of half right, but it was Bobby Boucher. All right, let's look at our friends. Let's see what's going on X, my friends. Take a couple comments over there, then we'll wrap it up on our members only after party. Are we live over here on X? I thought I posted that we were live. Let's see what's going on over here. Okay, I'm not seeing that we are live. Am I in the right page? Oh, here we are. The heck is going on? That was weird. Hey, Mini Tika! Hey, you're back on X. I know, I figured it out. Your boys getting better at this. James Pepper says, my community got hit by the flood. James, I'm sorry to hear that. Man, 5 children. Man, I'm so sorry, James. We have a big Sunday school. Most kids in town are in our church, so it's all going to a mess on Sunday where everyone's going to find out. We all ask for your prayers. James, you got him. Sorry that happened to you and your community. And we'll send some prayers and love your way to all our friends in Texas and New Mexico and these various spots. But my friends, thank you for being here today. And thank you for joining us on the show. Of course, thank you for also subscribing if you haven't done so already. Thanks for liking the video on the way out. And of course, thanks for being here. Now, we're going over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com and a members only stream on YouTube. So if you're in the chat, stick around. I'll drop the link to the new members only stream here in just a second. And then we'll do our members only after party and then get into it on the day. But we'll pause for the evening. And of course, before we wrap it up, I want to thank our amazing mods and meme smiths. Donut Mind Me, John, Carrie B, K Bean, Neuro D, Dog Digger, Janek. We've got Just Rhonda, Elliott, and Jigum all helping us mod the fort down and keep things nice and beautiful around here. And we're grateful for them and for you. Thanks for being here. We are going to pause on the evening, but we're coming back tomorrow and we're going to get into it again. And in order to do that appropriately, we are going to need to see you right back here so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night, my friends. Sleep very well. I'll see you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching, my beautiful friends. Now it's that time where the stream must end. You brought the heat with every chat and line. Together we expose corruption. One more time we dove in the truth where the media hides. Lit up the lies with receipts on all sides. The fight isn't over, but we made them sweat. We ain't done yet, no, not just yet. Because together we are watching the watchers, truth on our side. Watching the watchers, we won't be denied. Watching the watchers, eyes open wide. Fighting for freedom with nothing to hide. Drop a like and don't forget to share. And bring a friend who's ready to care. Tomorrow's lies are just today's news.